The Season 1 balance system had a huge impact on the so-called Monster Club meta. In no particular order, here are my top 5 biggest winners from these changes. Concealed power. In Season 1, monsters with 900 or lower power are now a lot more viable because they are no longer directly worse than other options, such as the old Witch of Power and Skynet Griffin. In my opinion, the majority of monsters in decks should have 2 or more slots, all of which will be under the 1000 power threshold and fit the requirement for concealed power. It's now essentially a free roll in most decks and one of the largest score increasing power cards you can play, and you'll probably expect to see it in most competitive decks. Sunset Rock Giant. Sunset Rock Giant was completely untouched by the Season 1 balance changes. It now requires only 5 rocks in your grave to be stronger than the other 2 slot monsters like Oni Dragon and Diamond Mage. This fact, combined with the format powering down, leaves Rock Giant able to reach incredible numbers and important breakpoints in the late game. In the mid to late game, Rock Giant can feasibly reach above 1500 power by itself, while still having 2 power slots to either defend itself with surprise cards, or use score increases to buff it up even further. This is definitely a card you should think about building your deck around. The Grand Power Up. Previously, it did not make mathematical sense to build around GPU and 200 power monsters. GPU Annex Monster requires a total of 2 cards to create a somewhat fragile 2000 power stack. Previously, players could use one of the many 1400 or above monsters with a 600 or greater score increasing power card, reaching the same result with an easier setup and using stronger independent cards. This would create a monster which was less vulnerable to power card interaction, and the cards individually had a lot more flexibility. In the context of the Season 1 format, GPU and a 200 power monster is now a relatively low commitment play that reaches an important point threshold, beating every 1200 one slot monster with a plus 700 or below score increasing power card. Scissors monsters and their respective score increasing power cards. In the Season 0 format, there were arguably only 2 to 3 playable scissors monsters in the game, those being Skynet Griffin, Spirit in the Katana, and debatably Silver Dragon because of its favourable interaction against the format warping Witch of Power. Now, there are so many fantastic playable scissors monsters with a lot of variety in stack slots and even a handful with useful effects. The scissors type also has access to multiple specific score increasing power cards, being Magnificent Sword and Magnificent Right Claw, both of which are very strong. The age of paper is over, it's now scissors time to shine. Single and double summons. It is still yet to be seen if single and double summons will be competitive. Theoretically, however, they now make much more sense than before. The old problem with summons was that it required so much setup and resource investment, but provided little reward for summoning them. This has changed. The now incredible base stats they provide allow them to both be resistant to power card interaction and reach very large numbers if you can pull off the tricky task of summoning them. I have high hopes for a variety of decks based around these summoned monsters to be competitive. These were my top 5 winners from the Season 1 balance changes. I hope you found my opinions on this topic both thought-provoking and interesting, and I hope this can give you a nice starting point on what will be good in the post-Season 1 world.